All right, what is up, chat? How is everyone today? How is everyone today doing? What is up, chat? I haven't been. Well, I think I did go live yesterday. I think can't remember exactly. So, all right, everyone. So we're working the same. I did a video on this before, but I'm just doing another video on it just to reiterate some very important factual evidence. In the last video that I did made on pollution and its effects as it relates to human and social biology, did not do a lot of elaborations. For this video, we will be doing a bit more of elaborations as relates to that. So we're taking a look at pollution and its effects. So let's look at the Csec human and social biology pollution in general. This could work for both subject areas. It could be for social studies and for principal or human and social biology, or even biology. It could work for both years. Just take that into account. Alright, guys, I have to just do something quick. Just give me a minute, guys. I didn't really do the thumbnail, so I'm now putting in this thumbnail, guys. Um, Anyways, let's start this document now. So we're taking a look at pollution and its effects. When we mean pollution, we mean anything that negatively affects the environment. That is what pollution is in general. So take that into a variable account. So as we go along, there is mainly four types of pollutions, mainly air, land, water, and environmental. You might see at a first glance that land and environmental effects are very much substantiative. However, when we mean environmental, we don't mean literally the ground. We mean how does it affect everyone involved, right? At least from my point of view, I would say that there is air, land, water, and environment. The reason why I would use environment more of a that I would say environment and land is very much differentiated is that the environment does not only include the physical ground that we could walk on. When I utilize the term environment, I refer to how does it actually affect people, and it affects everything in that procedural process. So let's look at the general definition of what pollution is. Pollution is the unfavorable alteration of the environment by the release of harmful substances or forms of energy into the environment. So that is what we mean by pollution. And this is in referral to land, right? So there's a big difference between pollution and pollutant. So the general definition of pollution is as I stated before. However, a pollutant is, let me just highlight that, a pollutant is different from pollution. A pollutant is a harmful substance or form of energy that causes unfavorable changes to the environment. And if you were to look at that, they utilize the term environment as a separate factor. So that's why I would say that they are mainly four. A lot of teachers would argue and say blatantly that there are only three. I don't believe that fulfills the definition 100%. But in the case that you're in a test scenario and they said, what are the main types of pollution? Let's put land, air, and water. Um, it would make it more easy for yourself. And that is usually what they want: land, air, and water. However, I do use environment as a separate form of pollution. When I utilize the term environment, as stated before, I simply mean that it affects everyone involved, including individuals and people. So there are mainly three major types of pollution, which includes domestic pollutants. These are pollutants released from homes. This is like, for example, food waste, laundry room, like for example, a very dirty laundry room, bathroom. This could be in the form of excreted waste, and sewage from the kitchen. The second type of pollution there is agricultural pollutants. These are mainly associated with modern agricultural practices and including pesticides and fertilizers. Then third, we have industrial pollution. These are pollutants that are released from industry. This includes oxides of carbon, oxides of nitrogen, smoke, dust, and other particulate matter. So industrial pollution is pollution or toxic gases that is released into the environment or released into the air that depletes the ozone layer or makes it much smaller. And if you guys don't know what is the ozone layer, I will post a link at the top of this video so you guys can actually look at that. So let's take a look at air pollution. And these are my notes. So the study prep guys Csec. So if you want more notes, more of the study prep guys notes, you guys could subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and tell me your comments what type of video you want me to make next. So let's look at air pollution. Air pollution results from the release of harmful substances or forms of energy into the atmosphere. Many cities experience air pollution associated with industrial activities such as energy production in power plants and processing of materials, as well as the operation of numerous motor vehicles in cities. Air pollution in rural areas is often associated with agricultural practices such as land clearance by slash and burn. So there, just to note, rural areas referring to areas that are very much scarcely or minorly populated. Rural areas is what you would consider to be the jungle. People living far in the jungle or people living in the forest. That is what air pollution is. However, when we refer to air pollution in the urban areas are densely populated, such as cities and stuff like that, those places are usually the main cause of air pollution in those areas are usually industrial air pollution. However, in rural areas, which is outside of the cities, in places that would usually be scarcely populated, we would usually like for example fertilizers, or for example in situations whereby they're born in trees and they're born in waste and they're born in the jungle, the carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide released from those toxic gases, when it reaches the atmospheric level, that causes air pollution in those cases. But that is only caused by agricultural practices in rural areas. However, as stated before, in urban areas that is usually cities and places where are densely populated. It is usually caused by motor vehicles or motor cars, and it's usually caused by industrial pollution or industrial air pollution released into the atmosphere. So let's look at some of the pollutants and their origin and their harmful effects. So first of all, let's look at carbon dioxide, which is CO2. That's the chemical equation for that. So born in fossil fuels and industry, motor vehicles release carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, and power plants are some of the sources or some of the origins of carbon dioxide. We also actually breathe in and out. We breathe in oxygen. You probably learned this in primary school. You breathe in oxygen, you breathe out carbon dioxide. We are in a sense a contributor of that factor to say. So let's look at builds up in the atmosphere and enhances the greenhouse effects, which contribute to global warming. So when we release carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, that causes global warming, which means that the temperatures become extremely high. Some is absorbed by oceans and causes ocean acidification. This is a lowering of the pH of ocean water, which harms aquatic organisms, meaning that they have to move to different alterations and they have to move to different territorial designations in order to survive. Then we have carbon monoxide, which is usually released by fossil fuels in industries, motor cars, and cigarette smoke. So what what exactly what effects does it have on us and what effects does it have on the environment? So combines with hemoglobin in the blood more readily than oxygen. This reduces the amount of oxygen being carried to body cells and results in headaches, dizziness, loss of consciousness, and death. So if there is enough carbon dioxide or monoxide, sorry for that, um, if there is enough carbon monoxide released into the atmosphere, it could actually cause the death of a person. And when there is not enough carbon monoxide released into the when there's a lot of carbon monoxide released into the environment, that causes dizziness because you're not having the amount of oxygen that is needed in order to function properly. And if you want a real life example of this, we could take a look at North Korea. Not sorry, no, not North Korea, China. We could take a look at China, whereby there is so much industrial pollution, which is release of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, that people literally die almost every day, either of exhaustion or they're not having enough oxygen in order to basically survive. So we have the third pollutant, which is sulfur dioxide, SO2. This is born in fossil fuels, industry, and power plants. So some of the effects of it is asthma, bronchitis, and lung disease, and irritated skins and eyes. And then we have also damages plants, harms animals, and corrodes buildings, meaning that it makes the building very corrosive. What do I mean by very corrosive? I mean that they start to decay, and the actual paints of the building start to decay and they start to wear. So let's look at some methods of controlling pollution. And we're being a bit specific. We're utilizing the term air pollution in this, for instance. So the following are measures that could be used to reduce the amount of air pollution. Reduce the use of fossil fuels. That is right out, but alternate energy sources mean that we find alternative energy sources such as solar, wind energy, which do not cause air pollution. Then, secondly, we have pass legislative bills or implement force or implement the police force in most cases to stop it entirely. We have clean gaseous emissions from factories before releasing them into the atmosphere. Equip motor vehicles with pollution control devices, meaning that they reduce the amount of carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide released from their emissions. And ban smoking or restrict the activities to specific locations, and put public education programs in place. Anyways, people, that is all for the study prep CSEC. I will make a second concurrences video and I will edit the video later. Anyways, guys, all the best. See you guys out.